I'm joined today by Alexis Conran. Alexis, sir, how are you?
I'm very good.
Good.
Nice to be here.
Lovely, lovely. Listen, we've known each other for a long time.
Very long time.
Tell me something. How do you describe yourself when someone says, introduce yourself to me now? Because you're a man who's done many, many things.
I know, it's a tricky question.
Yeah.
And it's a question that you need to have a good answer for straight away. You can't when people go, what do? You kind of go, that's never a good thing. I guess I'll have to start by saying I'm a TV presenter, because that's what I do now, Monday to Friday. So I've got my own show on Channel 5, everyday live TV, and on the weekends I'm on Times Radio. So I'm now broadcasting live 7 days a week, which is a thrill, I have to say, live broadcasting. But I guess when it comes to sort of why am I there, why am I presenting, I guess I sort of started by becoming an expert in deception.
Yeah.
That was my thing.
Yeah.
The Real Hustle got me on TV, and then I've worked around scams, fraud, that led me into consumer as well, which meant that my sort of TV career sort of has covered so many angles of consumer affairs, protection for people, what people I'm all about how can you give people the right advice or enough information for them to make better informed choices.
So do you think you look at stuff differently to me? Because
I think I do. I think I do. I always, and I have this...
Are you kind of a pessimist about everything, I think? Do you think there's an angle?
No. I think a lot of people sometimes think, well, when you know so much about fraud and scams, that you just always see the negativity in people. But actually, you don't, because that's not how we're built. What I sort of have inbuilt for me, and I had this way before I was even, this is when I was at school. When I look at a set of rules, when I look at a system, my first thought is, how can you break that?
Nice.
That's wrong, isn't it?
I like it.
That's just, it's not natural. But that's basically it. It's sort of like, here's a set of rules. What can possibly go wrong with those? And I think that's healthy. I don't think it's pessimistic. I think you have to be in the right frame of mind, obviously, because if you're constantly going, it's not doom-mongering. It's saying, is that enough?
Yeah.
Are those rules and that tech or that conformity or that protocol, is it enough? And because I fell into the world of magic and sleight of hand, you sort of get trained to understand that there are multiple perceptions. You may see something and you're looking at it this way. Someone who's an expert in deception or a magician or someone who's a fraudster or a con man will look at that, but also will look at that, or we'll look at that, or we'll turn it around and go, but this is what you think you'll see.
And do you do it for yourself, or do you do it to wow
time.
people, to amaze people?
I've never really been into the amazing people as a sort of look at me, because I think that's kind of...
No, maybe not look at you, but to challenge people's perceptions, I suppose. Is it about...
I think so. I think it's good to sort of nudge people and to sort of say, don't fall into that comfort zone where you're never questioning things.
Right.
I think one of the most wonderful attributes that people can have is curiosity.
Yeah.
Be curious.
Yes.
And that, I think if you can inspire someone to be curious, you've given them a big gift. Because once you discover that, hey, actually, hang on a minute, let's be curious about this. Let's ask a few questions. Do I have to accept it as it is, or can I turn it around? Can I think differently? That's where sort of good ideas come out.
But presumably live radio is an absolute gift for that, because you get to speak. But then, does it then frustrate you that you've only got the 4 minutes with this amazing person to speak to, kind of?
Well, that's a really good question. And actually, the reason why I've ended up doing live TV Monday to Friday, because again, you're dealing with when I present a TV program, I've got the gallery in this ear, I've got the guests in that ear, I guess, and then I've got live callers who come in. So being on your tippy toes and being curious means that you'll never run out of questions.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You're never going to go,
I've got.
Right.
I've done the thing.
Great. Yeah, I think we're done. Can we do the commercial? No? Another 10 minutes, is it? Great. So what did you have for tea? That's not going to happen if you're curious. And it's the same in radio. But the good point that you bring up is, what happens when you've got those time constraints? You've got 4 minutes. You've got 4 minutes with a great guest. What are you going to ask? And that's where you have to start thinking about, who are you talking to? Who are your listeners?
Yeah.
What would they want to ask? And that's where sometimes, and it can be tricky, because your natural instinct is, what do I want to ask Nick? What do I want to ask Nick?
Yeah.
But actually, that might not be what my viewers want to ask Nick, because they're a different social demographic, they are a different, have different interests than maybe I have. And that's where you have to be unselfish. But it's the same when you're presenting an event or hosting awards. You have to put enough of yourself in it for it to seem personable. But not self-indulge in it, where you're like, this guy's having more fun than we are. Hang on.
Fair enough. And you can tell that, kind of when you're listening to people, you can tell that actually it's about them or it's about the audience.
Let's talk about me.
I don't know all about me. Who haven't you spoken to who you like to speak to, or kind of what sort of person?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'd love to speak to more sports people.
Okay. Why? What do you want?
I just think that's fascinating about sports, with that sort of self-discipline. I'm amazed about that determination that sports people have that you don't see in other places. So I would have loved to have spoken to Tom Brady, someone I've admired. I'm a huge NFL fan. The discipline of someone of that age, just that sort of narrow-mindedness of win. Where does that come from? Usain Bolt, all these people, different characters, but all having that sort of narrow field of focus. I would love to sort of interviewed, some of those people, but I end up interviewing mostly MPs.
And how are they?
Hang on, this is being recorded. It's interesting. Some of them are fantastic. Look, I never buy into MPs from whichever political party.
Yeah.
Or they're all in it for themselves. They're all lying. That couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
Really, if you're honest about it. On my Times radio show, we have an item called Political Frenemies, where we bring MPs, sometimes in the House of Lords, peers, sometimes councillors, who come from different political backgrounds. So usually we'll have a Conservative and a Labour MP, but they're actually friends, right? And that's to illustrate that politics isn't as divided as you think it is, because ultimately Parliament is one bit that has to work together to make things work. And yes, you have contentious votes where you're going to have the opposition trying to stop the government. But actually, a lot of work happens in Parliament with the cross-party groups.
Yeah.
Now, cross-party groups only work because they have cross-party support. So that's when you get people to sort of work together. However, going back to interviewing MPs, what's interesting is some MPs are very clever in the sense that they don't want to answer any of your questions and they're just going to eat up your clock.
Right.
They know that they've got 6 minutes.
Yes.
Right? So if their first answer is 3 minutes,
there's not much time left.
You've only got like 2 questions left. Yeah. So I'll start and I'll have 6 questions that I want to ask. And after the first 3 minute answer, I'm like, well, I've got to cross these 3 out. So some of them are masters at running down your clock, never answering your question and just putting out the line that they've come on your show to plug.
My last question now has to be, do they acknowledge that afterwards to you off air?
When you do them in person, every now and then there might be a sort of a look when you say, thanks for coming into the studio. It would have been lovely if we had more time. And you might get a sort of a little, wouldn't it? If I gave you more time to grill me. Look, it's all very good-hearted. Sure. We're all there to sort of to do our job and be professional.
As always, lovely chatting.
Lovely to see you.
Yeah.